Oh, buddy. It has been 2 months, Sheldon. 2 months since I heard your sweet, beautiful voice.
How are you
and
doing,
I am
John?
so hype. I am well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm all right. It's morning time. I'm okay though. I've become a lot more of a morning person over the past year, and that's probably only heightened over the past couple months. So I'm not as tired as I normally am in past instances when we're taping this podcast.
You know what? I think I have low key become a morning person. Well, I've never been a morning person. I am more of a morning person. I've been working more regular hours, not quite the 2-3 a.m.s that I'm used to. Maybe we should reintroduce ourselves though, because it's been so goddamn long.
Okay.
I'm John Shidley Hill.
And my name is Sheldon Alexander.
And this is You Killed It, the podcast about the challenge. And we are back.
Season 33.
Season 33. Before we talk about Season 33, I gotta say, I am grateful for the 2-month break. I don't want to be a little bitch here and say that I was worn out by our heavy reality TV and podcasting schedule. But when you and I started this podcast was 4 seasons of the challenge ago. It was before they ever did Champs versus whatever, Stars or Pros. So you and I did 97 weeks almost in a row of podcasting. There's a couple weeks here or there.
Yeah.
But there's also some weeks where they had double episodes, or we would do an interview and also a show. Mm-hmm. And it was not hard on us, but it's hard to do anything for nearly 100 weeks in a row. But also, I think that it was really hard on the viewership. I found last season depressing with how nasty the fans were getting with each other and with the stars of the show. Mm-hmm. And occasionally with us. Nothing compared to what the stars of the shows have to put up with. But it was just I think it was good for everyone. It's the end of school. In high school, May and June, you just got fucking sick of everybody. Yes. And then it was nice to have July and August where you could choose who you're gonna hang out with. That was a nice break. I think it was one of those situations. And also, I'm really excited for this season because there's a lot of old favorites that are back. Right? Yeah. Obviously, number one with the bullet, friend of the show, Wes Bergman is back. I'm very excited for that. But as we break down episode 1, there's just there's so many old familiar faces that we haven't seen for a while. I'm thinking Nani, I'm thinking Leroy, and I'm just so excited to see all these people back. Mm-hmm. I'm hype, I'm excited. I've had some sugar this morning.
I'm here for it. You seem fired up. You seem extra juiced this morning. I can't lie. But I understand because for me, as much as I love the challenge, I enjoy the challenge. And I will say, John, a lot of your rant there kind of came off as first world problems here. Oh no, I have to watch a reality show and then talk about it.
Oh, it's so hard. And it's what's even worse is my day job is even more of a joke. I just watch sports for a living.
Right? But yes. I'll say this. The thing about the challenge that I've always loved the most is the first episode of the challenge, right?
Oh, and yeah.
That will always get me hooked each and every season without fail. The first episode, I'm just locked in after that because you're seeing, as you mentioned, you're seeing faces you haven't seen before. There's also a bunch of new people, which I kind of know some of these people, right, from whatever other shows. Obviously, people familiar with our podcast know I watch Big Brother. So I know some of the new people that are coming in as well. And it just, there's just so much hope. There's a trailer that sells you on exactly what's going to happen this season as well. So I've always stated that there are few things better in all of television than the this season on trailer for the challenge. Oh. Right?
Yeah.
So when that leaked last week, I was in right away. And the first episode didn't disappoint.
And I think as long-term listeners know, you and I don't talk about the challenge when it's not in the confines of the show, basically. Like, we talk about sports.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about, like, life stuff. But, like, we kind of go to great lengths to not speak about the challenge to each other. But as you know, I texted you last week, and I was like, I am fucking hyped. After seeing that, I broke our, like, silence.
Yes.
And after watching that trailer, I'm like, I am amped up. Like, I cannot wait to go. And it's also been cool the past couple of weeks. We had so many people tweeting at us or, like, sliding into DMs being like, when are you guys coming back? Why aren't you guys talking about the Polly, Danielle, Cara thing? And we're going to touch on that deeper into the episode. But yeah, it's been nice that people have missed our dulcet tones.
Yeah, I've missed the challenge. And the thing that I miss the most about the challenge, though, is I love the way that each and every season they come up with new and different ways to add twists to the excitement, right? So you're adding in a bunch of different people from a bunch of different shows, but also you have this theme of War of the Worlds, right? You have the vets and the prospects and just the way that, you know, you're seeing old faces but different faces. I was just all in on this from the get-go. And it was funny because I wrote it down near the end because I guess TJ had that line. But TJ had the line where basically, I guess, was it between... it was right before they were about to announce how the teams were going to be selected, right? And he's like, it's not just a game. It's not just a battle. It's war, right? I was like, all right. Like, that's how you cut the trailer. And again, I found it funny, too, that obviously TJ introduces the show, but who gets the first words in terms of confessionals? Why, of course, Johnny Bananas gets those first words, right? And you mentioned some of the new faces. You're interested to see Wes, which obviously fans of the show know that we are fans of Wes, obviously. I was also interested to see Nani because she is, as I like to say on this podcast a lot, she is a challenge. She is personifies what the challenge is, right? Feisty competitor, but also a five-tool player, right? In terms of bringing the drama in the house as well. And so it's cool to see Nani back. I'm always here for CT because he's just jokes. Jenna is just one of the nicest people ever. I'm a fan of Amanda. Like, it's fun to see all these people again. It's like we're being reunited with their friends.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It is being reunited with friends. And you know what? I just, as you were speaking and like you were talking about how you'd missed the show, I think that's what I was trying to get to when I was talking about the 2-month break. One of my favorite phrases I heard from professional wrestling great Jim Cornette, and that is, hold on, Sheldon, we're getting into it already, all right? It's been like 10 minutes, classic John rant about pro wrestling. But there's this great phrase that he has, how can we miss you if you won't go away? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the problems with the challenge was for like 2 years it didn't go away.
Yeah, and right? I mean, that's what I mean exactly about the beginning of the season. Because the beginning of the season, you're like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. And what tends to happen, especially over the last few seasons, was they drag things out for whatever reason, right? There's too many Redemption House twists or just whatever. It ends up going like 4 months long. And then you kind of get, all right, let's wrap this up. We kind of know where this is going. Let's just get to the final already, right? But right now, It's like, all right, the challenge is back. Let's go. And I have a question for you. Did you watch that? I don't know if it obviously wasn't the first episode, but it was like a teaser episode where you kind of got introduced to all the new people. Did you watch that episode?
I did not. No. Did you?
I did watch it. It wasn't necessary. And it was kind of like they didn't go too in depth. You know, I feel like it was kind of a perfect world type thing just because if you wanted to get an introduction to who some of these people were, it was kind of cool in that sense. But basically it just showed them all showing up to this location and them spending, I think it was the first night in that tent that you see them in when everyone shows up. Yeah. So it's basically just them all meeting each other, them all introducing themselves. that they were playing like spin the bottle, like whatever, trying to kill time until TJ showed up or they found out what they were doing. But basically, it was just introducing you to all these people. And again, wasn't a must watch, but it was an interesting watch, if I could say that, because there are people like, there's some people I knew. So you don't know any of these. Do you know any of these people or no?
I certainly know. I knew the twins, Julia. Was that her name? Julia and
Liz. Yeah.
I recognize them from Big Brother. I know Josh had won Big Brother previously.
Oh, Josh. We'll talk a lot about Josh.
Georgia she's one of the British ones.
Yeah, Love Island, UK or something. I don't know. X on the Beach, one of those shows. I don't know.
I do know the newbie that I am most excited about is Shailene Shay.
Okay. What's she from?
She is from The Bachelor Canada.
Oh, yes.
We have a Canadian on the show.
Yes.
And I know nothing about her beyond that she's Canadian, but I'm already following her on social media because I am so glad to have a Canadian on the show.
Yeah, it's a weird pull too, right? Like from The Bachelor Canada, like that's a weird pull. But
I'm surprised they didn't get anyone from Big Brother Canada.
Hey, good work by whoever her agent is, right?
Yeah.
Solid work by her.
Great work.
It was also funny too on that random show because so they're trying to figure out like what should we do, and they're like staying up all night and like talking, and then Turbo just like went to sleep, and Turbo was just like sitting in the corner by himself, like just freaking people out, which fits perfectly into what happened in this episode, which we'll get to, but when he picked his partner, which was amazing. Yeah. But we'll get to that. But anyways, yeah, no, it was interesting for me to see some of these names and be like, oh yeah, I know that person. And in a weird way, so I was off over Christmas for about almost a month, actually, like 3 weeks. I was off of like my normal day job. Still doing like other basketball podcasts and shit, but I do that from my home. So it was a weird mix, John, of, you do obviously all the Christmassy stuff for 1 week, I'll say. For another week, I did like, oh, let's go hang out and party with friends. And then for the next week, it was just, I'm just watching TV and watching Netflix and actually chilling, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But during that time, there'd be a lot of just random TV watching. And in this era of where I'm doing like a lot of different podcasts and stuff, but a lot of time is spent uploading, right? Like uploading videos to YouTube and shit. That process takes about an hour, right? So every night when I'm doing that, there's always just random shows that I'm watching then. And it's not really the best quality of television watching. But
no.
I was
just like background TV.
My cousin, Shaquila, introduced me to X on the Beach. And X on the Beach got me to Morgan. So I knew who Morgan was just from that show. And I was kind of like, oh, okay. She might be a funny addition to the challenge for sure. X on the Beach also had appearances by your man's Nelson, which was really funny. But the reason I bring it up is just because I was watching these shows and it just made me crave the challenge even more. Right? Because X on the Beach was kind of like all the parts that get too annoying in the challenge. That's what X on the Beach is. Right? But, so anyways, that led me, I didn't realize it at the time, but that led me to getting an introduction to some of these people who were on X on the Beach, who are now on the challenge, but also, like, we're kind of seeing that Morgan's going to be a focal point of this season.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we might not know who she is, but she's going to be a focal point of the season. So it was cool to get, like, an introduction coming in. So I was kind of already like, okay, I see what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But do you want to get to the actual episode and what
let's
went
get
down
to it
here? Or do you have any other thoughts or any questions on maybe some of the castmates that you might not be familiar with?
No, I think I'm good. There's something to be said. Like, I appreciate your scouting report, but there's something to be said with like how the producers of the challenge introduce people.
Yes.
Like, one thing that I'll note here is that, like, I'm hyped about Shailene because I know she's Canadian. Mm-hmm. She didn't have a single confessional.
Yeah.
The only time we heard her speak was when she chose her partner.
Yep. And I'll say
So
too, she
like,
didn't really speak much in that first like prospects episode either. She didn't really speak much then either.
oh, she's a polite Canadian, eh?
Right?
Uh,
Which is a far
I'm-
cry from the Brits, because the Brits were lit in that prospects
were.
thing, like as you'd expect. But
yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a wild season. I'll just
I'm
say that off the bat. Watching that prospect show, it's going to be a wild season with the Brits because they are fired up.
I'm gonna warn you right now. Pretty much every time we speak about Shailene, I'm gonna slip into a Letterkenny accent because I think it's hilarious.
Well,
Just-
do Americans know what Letterkenny is?
No, but I suggest that we just keep referring to Letterkenny and see if any of them can find it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, we'll just go full send, eh?
But yeah, let's get to
just
the
a couple
episode.
buttes out for a rip.
Let's get to the actual episode. As much as I enjoy Letterkenny, let's get to the actual episode. So it kind of starts where the vets show up on these like dirt bikes, right, to the little tent party that the Rooks were having. What are we calling them? Rookies, prospects? They're called prospects for...
They call them prospects. I'm gonna probably stick with rookies or newbies or noobs.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well,
So-
just like off the top, I mean, the show starts with a mushroom cloud, and then like you said, they're riding ATVs. Like, how big is the budget going to be for this season? Like, it looks
Right?
crazy.
Yeah, like
And
it
I also-
can't be cheap to shoot on that location.
No, and I love that TJ obviously is super good at ATVing. Like, not that. Like, we don't really see TJ do a lot. Like, normally you just see him, like, dramatically walk along, like, the edge of a dune.
Yeah.
But obviously, former, like, X Games superstar TJ Lavin is good at ATVing. Like, when he's popping a wheelie, I'm like, he probably didn't even, like, tell them that he was going to do that. He was probably, like, just fucking around and, like, loving life. Because, like, I can see this is totally the thing that TJ would love to do. Right? Like, this is so in his wheelhouse.
I was also kind of worried about the other challengers on them because I was kind of like, wait, do we really trust that like Nani knows how to ride this thing properly? Do you know what I mean? Like, and they're riding pretty close beside each other, right? Like, it just seemed kind of funny to me that, yo, this could go wrong like really easily to have almost 20 people riding side by side, right? Anyways.
And they didn't play the Rough Riders anthem. Like, what the fuck?
Probably cost too much, right? Prices have gone up for Rough Riders.
They couldn't clear the rights. DMX is out of jail, and now he's asking too much money.
Right? That would make sense, though. That would make sense. But, so, as people start rolling up, you start getting the montage of just, you know, the introduction to different people, or the reintroduction of different people. And I was super excited to see Davon. And Davon's one of our favorite people on this show. But also why she's really good is because she's always thinking, right?
Yes.
And she says right away that, you know, when they get to the spot and they see a couple of people, she says, oh, I noticed there's more Big Brother people. And she's automatically thinking about the numbers, which if we remember back to last season was a very big deal because her and her partner Jose were getting thrown in basically each and every elimination because they didn't have the numbers on their side. So right off the bat, and normally people think the partnership's going to be about the vets, she's thinking, no, who can I pull into my circle? And automatically there's a link between the Big Brother peeps of Josh, the twins, and Morgan. It was just interesting and also set the tone for more of what we'd see from Davon later, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, I was Go on, sorry.
It's all right. We're at a practice. It's fine. The thing that struck me is that this is essentially a fresh meat season. Like, it's not called that, but it's just like Fresh Meat 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And as I always say, in my mind, Fresh Meat 2 is the start of the modern challenge.
Yeah.
Like, that's the turning point, right? That's the introduction of Kara. That's the introduction of Laurel. And it's sort of... you would know more about this, but it was more of a slicker production starting with Fresh Meat 2. Like, that's when the competition's got a little more serious, a little more dangerous, and they feel like if you watch if you go back and watch Fresh Meat 2, the challenges seem very easy compared to what they have to do now, but it was a huge step forward compared to what they had to do previously.
Yeah, and I mean, just from the trailer alone, you can tell that the challenges on this the ante seems to be upped a little more on what this challenge is, but also with there being so many different people from so many different shows and so many different popular shows as well, right? You can tell that they're putting more into it, but I also think, to co-sign what you're saying here, right? I think this is needed. I think you do need to like introduce some new blood into the challenge, just because we talked about it for seasons and seasons, how, you know, the CTs are kind of just there for, you know, like, we're trying to win, but I'm going to lay low and stay out of the drama, right? Mm-hmm. But in terms of, if I put my producer hat on, as you know I love to do on this podcast, right?
And I love it when you do.
But as a producer, I need to have more people that, you know, can be more of the 5-tool players, as I said before, right? Meaning, yes, you're heavy competitors and you want to win every challenge, but you also stir the pot with the drama. I might have to punch somebody in the face, but also I might, you know, hook up with someone. Like, you need all of that in terms of a production. And so you need to ingest a lot more of these people. And the Brits definitely tick a lot of those boxes, but also adds an interesting twist. Because with some of these other shows, it's a completely different element being on the challenge than it is to being on Big Brother or being on X on the Beach or Homeboy from The Bachelor, right? Like,
yeah,
that guy was definitely out of his element. But it was
the guy who'd been on the telenovela. Like, he's just an actor.
Incredible, but I'm here for it. Why not experiment? I like it. And also, too, the way that they're going about it, you mentioned Fresh Meat. Think about how much more, and again, I apologize if this is too much of a deep dive with my producer hat here, but you got me thinking, John, right? Think about it from before, when you have shows like The Challenge and you're doing Fresh Meat. You're just bringing on random people, right? And hoping that, oh, cool, Cara Maria turned out to be someone really good, or she turned out to be a really good character. She turned out to be good at doing confessionals or understanding the drama of how I need to put together a show. Instead, now, fast forward to 2019, you have an influx of all these people who have already been on reality shows, right?
Yeah.
So they know how to play the camera. They know how to give you a good confessional. Big Brother is all based off confessionals, right? Like, that's how the whole show's told. So it's just a different way, but a better way of prolonging this challenge legacy. Does that make sense?
Yes. And you know what? I'm glad you brought up Big Brother and the confessionals, because I have a question that I want to ask you as a producer.
Yeah.
Because I used to watch Big Brother.
Okay.
And, like, I watched the first maybe 5 seasons, like, way back, like, when we were in high school.
Yep.
And sometimes I'll go back and, like, watch an episode here or there. But one of the things I dislike about Big Brother now is that when they're in confessional, they all shout all the time. Like, they're always bellowing in the fuck... And, like, I find it really off-putting.
Yeah.
Like, it's something... Like, if you compare that to, like, a CT... Like, CT is great in confessional. Like, he's really funny and low-key. But, like, I mean, he's kind of famous for mumbling.
Yeah.
Or even, like, a Wes or a Nani. Like, they speak like a normal human being. Or a Cara. And this shouting, I find it so off-putting. That's a producing decision, though, right?
On. No, do you know what it is?
Yeah.
It's because it's put on, right? So Big Brother is heavily produced in the sense that those confessionals is literally how they tell the story of the episode, right? Like, that's how, that's like the narration of the entire episode. So if you notice, right, Josh or Davon, like, they're really good. The twins, they're really good in confessionals. Paulie, right? Because they're coming in from Big Brother, where literally you might have a producer say, okay, repeat after me. I just need you to say, well, we woke up and we were really tired, but what was really going on with Dave? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's literally laid out for them. And so they might say something, and then you have the producer say, no, I need you to say that again with a little more energy. Or I need you to be mad when you say that, right? Whereas on the challenge, you have people like that, but it takes a couple people a couple seasons before they realize, oh no, I'm going to come in with some lines, right?
Yeah.
Now, you get far where you get to like the Johnny Bananas of the world, who you know has lines plotted out before he comes in, but still adds to the drama, adds to the storytelling of the show. But also with the challenge, John, I think it's good because what you're talking about is there's an eclectic mix of people in the confessionals. It's not all the same. They're not hitting the same notes.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Like, I think the variety in, like, different voices makes a big difference, and at least for me, makes the show more enjoyable. Like, you've got the dry wit of CT,
yes,
versus sort of the like slick, prepared lines of a Johnny Bananas,
Wes,
the like emotional resonance of like a Jenna, who's like kind of has this self-deprecating humor, but she's very sweet and like doesn't say anything negative about anyone.
Agreed.
Like, that's what I like. I like that mix.
Totally agree. But one thing I also enjoy about the challenge is they get right to the shits, right? Episode starts, they show up, and it's like, you know what? We got a challenge right off the bat. And what was this called? Impending Doom? I think that's what it was called.
Impending Doom. Yes.
So it was going to be a women's heat and a men's heat. They're going to start on the top of the dune, and you had to race down the hill to catch a ball. When you get the ball, you have to bring the ball all the way back up the hill, and then get puzzle pieces and put the puzzle together. And Bananas thinks he's slick, and right away he's like, wait, the order that we put the pieces together is probably going to be the order that we get to pick our team, right?
Yep.
There's Johnny Bananas, always trying to figure out the game within the game, right? So right away they notice that there are 16 vets and 18 rookies, or what did we call them? I'm calling them rookies. I'm sticking to that.
Go with rookies. Rookies is good.
So the last two rookies are going to be eliminated right off the bat. I'm always here for that challenge because it just adds the stakes, right? I'm always here for that twist. Also, though, John, they find out that the winner is going to get $1 million again. So, early on, what do you think of this challenge? What do you think of the stakes? What do you think of just how this all set up early on?
I mean, I love the opening challenge of Impending Dune, because like it's a nice mix of the physical and doing a puzzle. And like we didn't really describe it. Essentially, Impending Dune is they're at the top of a dune and they release these balls. They're like foam dodgeballs. You have to, and they start rolling down the hill. You have to get one of these balls, put it in like the garbage can, and once you do that, that allows you to get a bag full of puzzle pieces, and then you run down and you have your little station. It's like a classic tanagram puzzle that they always do on the challenge. And then whoever finishes them first, as you said, as Johnny Bananas said, they're going to have the higher standing. And what I liked is that, like, that was a good, like, there was different strategies you could employ. Like, you could say to yourself, am I going to, like, fuck around and, like, wrestle and fight with someone and get a ball quickly before it rolls all the way down the hill? Or am I going to go chase a ball that goes all the way down the hill? And maybe it's easier for me to get a ball, but it takes me more time because I got to run all the way down the hill and then all the way back up the hill. Like, I like that there was differing strategies that you could use. In the men's heat, Leroy got into it with, I think it was Theo.
I don't even know who it was, but I just like that he was just like, right off the bat, just saying, dude, do you know who you are? Do you know where you're at right now? Do you know what you're doing? And just like rips the ball from him. I thought that was cool. I also like that Wes was super honest, just like, I am here to prove that I still have it, right?
Yep.
Because they're outnumbered. We saw this last season with Johnny Bananas, where his biggest struggle was going to be the fact that he didn't have the numbers on his side. But now if you're coming in and you're Wes, it's even worse off for you because you haven't been in this show for a while now. And people are just going to come at you because they know that you're a vet. They know that you're a gamer. And there's going to be, like, you're obviously one of the more strategic type players. So there's going to be a target on your back if you're Wes. He's going to have to prove that he still has it, no?
Yes, but I think that one of the big differences between Johnny Bananas and Wes, who are like, we've talked about this before, arguably the biggest rivalry in challenge history.
I would say the Kobe and LeBron of their era.
Yeah, that's fair. They have two very different strategies, just broadly speaking, as to how they play the game. That is, Johnny Bananas circles the wagons, puts vets first, puts his friends even further ahead of other vets. Uh-huh. And, like, it's very much because his very first season of the challenge, the vets put him as a rookie into every competition until he was out. And, like, that's just, like, that is his lane.
Yep.
And so he's always looking to, like, he's always the one that's saying, like, you got to pay your dues. You're not a veteran. And he's sort of like a gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. Whereas Wes's strategy is always alliance building.
Yes.
And bringing in new people. Like,
getting the numbers.
Getting the numbers. And it's been a while since we've seen Wes at work in, like, a proper challenge. But that often means that he's approaching the rookies and he's working with the rookies, and it doesn't make for as good TV because you don't see it. Like, it's not easily illustrated in TV. But you do see him, like, he, I think, goes by sort of his vibe. Like, he told us in one of our interviews with him that he and Devin Walker, just hit it off early on. And so they formed an alliance based off of the fact that they, like, vibed with each other and sort of built up a rapport. So
and probably a dislike of Johnny Bananas, but yeah.
And a dislike of Johnny Bananas. But you're totally right that, like, now rookies, newer people, like a Kyle, who's a veteran, like, he's not a rookie, but, like, he's going to be allied with the UK people for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to be easier for Wes to build an alliance with those people because he doesn't have that Johnny Bananas approach of, like, vets first. Wes has that approach of, like, okay, who is a strong competitor? Who do I trust? Who do I get along with?
No, for sure.
Right? Totally. And, like, those two styles will overlap because, like, Wes and CT really get along. But, and, like, Johnny Bananas and CT will be an alliance. But Wes will, I'm sure, as the season progresses, we're going to see him hang out with the British people. Or we're going to see him, like, vibe with the Big Brother people.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
And Wes's strategy will be to, like, sort of work with them and then try to read when it's time to no longer work with them and then, like, throw them in against whoever, right? So I think Wes's strategy sort of works better for these new seasons where there's always new faces but who are reality TV veterans.
No, I totally agree. And the thing too, you mentioned these reality TV veterans, and it was interesting to see how this was all put together in terms of we're still getting the introduction to a lot of these people. And I did a double take when it was like Theo came on and they're like, oh, he was on the track team for the Great Britain relay team. I was like, holy shit, okay. That's an odd addition to the challenge, but okay, I'm here for this.
So I looked up Theo's stats.
Okay.
Because that's what I do. And it's true. He never competed at an Olympics, but he did compete at, like, international events.
Okay.
That dude, he's right, he competed in the 4x400 relay. But he also, which is different than the 4x100, which is what most people are used to. But he can run a wind-assisted 10.56 second 100-meter dash.
Yeah, that's pretty legit.
That is pretty legit. He can do the 200 meters against the wind. He did this in 2015, 21.12 seconds to run 200 meters.
Yeah.
That's, like, it's not, like, going to win you a medal at the Olympics, but he will be the fastest runner on this show by a wide margin. We even saw it when he was running into the house.
Yeah, like he was the first one in. Yeah.
By, like, a minute. One thing getting back to impending Dune, one thing I have to say was these rookies, these prospects, are fucking losers. Like, the way they were celebrating their wins for doing a puzzle, like, I didn't even see when Ashley C ripped off his shirt, but I don't understand why you'd have to take your shirt off to do a fucking puzzle. But then your boy Turbo did like a fireball Hurricane Rana from Street Fighter. Like, guys, act like you've been there before. Good lord.
But this is the thing. So you got to remember, again, right? These guys are coming from whatever other random reality shows where, unlike The Challenge, again, their shows are all like based off narrations or creating fake drama or them trying to act. So now you add that into the competition side of it, and they feel like they got to overcompensate and like act and put on a show for actually winning. That by no means is me co-signing them taking off their shirts for no reason after they win. So it's just like, what is happening here? But you mentioned Ashley. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say that dude is on steroids, but I will say that he exhibits the physique of someone who most likely has used steroids at some point in their life. Is that enough legally to cover us, John?
All I'm gonna say is that I'm confident that WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, ain't testing on The Challenge.
Right? Exactly.
And I think it's also worth noting that people who use performance-enhancing drugs and have extra testosterone tend to do things like rip off their shirt and scream over solving a tanagram puzzle. I'm just saying.
Well, was it Ashley or Turbo? One of them that said they're also called gorilla, and gorillas eat bananas. So
yeah,
it's just kind of like, holy shit. Okay.
That was. I like how you said "holy shit." That was Ashley C who said that.
Yeah, I was just like, who are these dudes? And then there's Bear, who takes off his shirt, he's screaming, and then he dabs. I was like, bro, it's 2019. Who's dabbing still? Wasn't that like...
he dabbed repeatedly throughout the episode.
So
I also
weird.
like that after he won, again, running down a dune and then solving a tanagram, goes, that's how we do in London. Is that how you do in London? Are they running down dunes in London, England? And then like solving tanagrams, then dabbing? That's how they do it. That's not we've both been to London. That's not in my mind's eye how I picture London.
I also
if he was like
I thought too that trends start in London and then they make their way over to North America. Right? So
that's true.
Are they still dabbing in London? Maybe one of our listeners can help us out with that, because I thought it went the other way around. Like, I always use the story. I remember I was mesmerized by this last year. One of our buddies, actually, that we went to high school with, a beer got married last year, but we went to London, England for his bachelor party. And I remember when we were there, I was mesmerized by the fact that I was seeing all these girls wear beautiful, like, sundresses, but then, like, dirty-ass runners. I was like, what kind of swag is this? I was just like, what is this? And then fast forward, let's say half a year later, and that was all you're seeing if you take a walk down Queen West in Toronto, right? Yeah. Like, it was just a trend setting of, and so in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, well, that just reaffirms what we already know, that a lot of trends start overseas in Europe or London, wherever, and then they come here. But this dabbing thing, and this is how we do in London, like, I don't know. Someone's got to hook me up with some info on this.
When someone says this is how we do in London, I picture wearing like a pea coat, shaking out an umbrella, and having some tea. Like that, I think that's a more accurate.
I'm trying to figure out what the show's called, because I know I mentioned at the start of this pod that I spent a lot of time watching a lot of Netflix and TV, but him dabbing and doing his whole spiel about this is how we do in London reminded me of this show that I'm going to drop 2 Abir references in this podcast in a matter of like 10 minutes. But Abir got me to watch this show, and it's called, is it People Doing Nothing? Oh, it's about these kids. Yes, People Doing Nothing. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yes. People Just Do Nothing. And it's about these kids in West London that start this like bootleg radio station, but it's filmed like a mockumentary. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've seen the trailers for it. It's on Netflix.
Yes, it's on Netflix. And it's so hilarious because it's a joke, right? Like, it's a mockumentary. But at the same time, it kind of reminded me of Turbo, just trying to be, like, so cool. But yet, we're watching it being so confused. I don't know. Because that made... when he said, this is what we do in London, that made me think of the kids on that show.
The other thing is, damn, these newbies have dumbass names.
Bear?
Bear? Turbo? Is this fucking American Gladiators? Like, good lord.
So good. So good.
Holy shit.
So who ends up winning? Paulie comes in first, right? For the
dudes.
For the dudes, yeah.
And Davon, who said, and I quote, "I'm gonna do it because I'm a thug." I love Davon.
Oh yeah. So good.
She's a 5-tool player. She's the best. I want to hang out with Davon. I was thinking about that. Like, I know that's your standard for, like, whether or not you like a competitor.
Yeah.
It's like, would you have a beer with them? I would 100% hang out with Davon. Like, she just seems like fun and cool, and like would have things to say.
Yeah, that was always the gauge from the old Right Reasons podcast, which I still love. And they don't do it anymore, but they do some special episodes with David Jacoby and Juliette Littman. But that was their gauge, right? And when he said it, it summed up reality TV watching perfectly. It's like, you watch these shows, and all you need is a couple people that you're like, hey, I'd go have a beer with that guy, or I'd hang out with that girl, and then you're in, and you're rooting for them. This season just seems so funny because there's such a cross-section of, I would never hang out with that person, but I'm still here for the drama. Do you know what I mean? For now, anyways. But, sorry, what were you going to say?
I have 3 more notes from this fucking competition.
Okay.
We mentioned the winners were Paulie and Davon.
Yes.
But Cara was last, which is surprising.
And Amanda was like near the end as well. And Amanda's normally a puzzle beast, no?
Yeah. The other one is that the twins, Julia and Liz, are separated because Liz gets eliminated.
Yes. Was Liz the one that fell on her face, or was that Julia? Whichever one. That was funny. That was a face plant.
Yeah. But I was disappointed because it was going to be interesting to me to see, like, 2 siblings in the house together, because that's obviously, like, the most rock-solid alliance there can be, pretty much.
Yes.
Right?
There's also means that there's a target because people know that you're 2 votes.
That's true. That's true. I have to say, already off the bat, even when, like, at the competition, Cara and Paulie are already fucking annoying me.
Oh,
like, when Cara's like, oh, I'm gonna have sex with him later. Like, holy shit. Like, cool your jets. Cool your jets. Of course, narrator's voice, her jets were cooled later.
But it's just so over the top and so annoying, and I literally don't care about them, right? And like, you mentioned a bunch of the drama and people, you know, tweeting at us asking if we're going to talk about the drama between Cara and Paulie, because it became like a social media thing involving a lot of different challenge members. And I remember reading a little bit of it one day and then being like, I don't care.
Well, you know what? It's come up naturally. Let's talk about it now, because there's this scene on this episode of the challenge where, you know, everyone's run to the house and they're exploring, they're seeing like the pool, they're seeing everything they've got, and Cara and Paulie are going around the house holding hands, but she's like kind of holding hands where she's like leading him around, you know, like the Instagram pose.
Yep.
And she's like, we can have sex there, we can have sex there, we're going to have sex there, we're going to have sex there. And for those of you who are blessed and don't follow all this drama on social media, big sigh. last season of the challenge, Paulie was dating Danielle from The Bachelor and from Bachelor in Paradise, who, Sheldon, I don't know if you've ever actually watched those shows or the episodes with her on it. She is like Jenna in terms of just like niceness, perhaps a little more articulate or more intelligent than Jenna, but just like a really sweet, nice person.
Yeah.
And he cheated on, disputed, but he cheated on Danielle with Cara.
Yeah.
Between the two seasons, he broke up with Danielle. He and Cara are now officially dating. And after the filming of this season, after the filming of Challenge Season 33, War of the Worlds, it came out that Danielle and Paulie never stopped talking to each other. And that he said that he basically convinced her that things with Cara were a showmance. He somehow convinced Danielle to block Cara on social media so that Danielle wouldn't see all of Cara's social media posts of them together. And so it all blew up because Danielle put out this like emotional post about like the emotional abuse that how he'd put her through the ringer. And like it sounded like he'd spend like one weekend with her and then one weekend with Cara, with neither one of them knowing about the other. And because of this emotional post that Danielle put out, it got picked up by like Us Weekly and People and stuff like that, and someone sent that to Cara, and then Cara and Danielle actually spoke, compared notes, and realized what a piece of shit Paulie is. So this is how it all blew up in the off season. And watching this episode of The Challenge, where none of this is like blown up yet, it's awkward because like if you're into the challenge, you know what's coming down the pike. But on the other hand, it's also awkward because like Cara is so fucking gross and over the top.
I'm just tired of it because the exact same thing happened last season, right?
Yeah.
The exact same drama happened when they came back from the last season of the challenge. And then you already knew that they were about to hook up, but the first however many episodes were all about will they or won't they, when we already knew that they did. And I just didn't care. And so we got to the point where I remember reading it that day when it really started to fly, and there was a bunch of different people from the challenge going at Paulie, dissing him, whatever. He started going back at them. I was like, this is all dumb, and I don't really care. And also, I think it's all just publicity. Like, it's all Paulie trying to secure a spot on the following season of the challenge so he can be a part of this kind of reality TV tour, especially because what MTV's doing now, where you have all these people that kind of end up doing a circuit, right? Because they've created a bunch of different shows that you can take people from one of these shows and then they end up on 2 other shows on MTV, right? So to me, it's just a matter of, that's all Paulie was doing the whole time, right? Like, because remember it came out at the end of last season, or maybe it was during the reunion show. Paulie was talking about how he was a Cara super fan and it was his goal to hook up with Cara, and so to have it actually happen and blah, blah. And it was all just like, this is ridiculous. I don't care about any of this. I'm out on all of it. I almost am to the point that I would fast forward through any of their scenes, but the only reason I will watch it is because we do a podcast about it. If we did not, I would fast forward through every time I see Paulie and Cara show up in confessionals just hanging out in the house.
Well, and like they were, to your point, like they were sort of the showcased the highlight episode of Just Tattoo of Us, that the US version where people and like she had a tattoo of herself tattooed onto him.
Yeah, and I mean, again, all of this for show, all of it super over the top, all of it just super annoying, and I was so over it. I'm just not here for it at all. Don't care at all what they do or how it happens, because to me it's all just fake. It's all super fake. And that's my biggest issue with it, because Cara knows what she's doing. She knows how she's become super popular by playing the victim when you're not the victim in this case because you knew what you were doing from last season. And so the line that I always say, remember how you got in. So,
yes,
Kara, right? If you met him when he was with someone else and that's how you got in, chances are it's probably going to come back around. So whether it's true or not, and again, I don't believe it is true, even if it was, I don't care. Why? Because remember how you got in. I'm over those two. Don't even care about them. I hope they don't waste like 5 episodes like they did last season talking about what's going to happen with Kara and Paulie. What's going to happen with Kyle? Does Kyle still care about, like, get out of here. I'm not here for any of that. There's so many other people in the house that we don't even need to talk about them.
Well, here's one thing I'll say. Judging, like, from a, like, critical perspective of how the show's put together, they showed us that stuff, like them walking around the house, because it's going to come up. And it's going to come up sooner rather than later.
But just it'll be part of the filler episodes that we will be complaining about in like a month about this season dragging on too much with stuff that we don't care about.
But put like the other way I'm looking at it is that they did not focus on a lot of people that I really like this episode. Like, they didn't really focus on Wes. They didn't really focus on CT. They touched on the Leroy and Cam situation, and we should too. But like I said, I'm excited for Shailene because she's Canadian. And she didn't have any part in this. And in my mind, that means she's going to be around for a while. Right? Like, they're saving really getting into what she's about.
Yeah.
Because they know that she's going to be around for a while. And like, same with, like, we didn't see a ton of Amanda this episode. That probably means she's going to be going deep. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure. It's super. There's a lot of different other storylines or different other people that I'd like to invest time in other than Paulie and Kara, who are just putting on a show within the show to like boost themselves and have it continue. And Kara's whole thing about playing the victim all the time. Like, I'm so just over it. So over it.
Well, let's talk about something fresh and new. Sort of. Let's talk about Chase and Nani and Johnny Bananas. Because Nani, her body language was screaming. Like, she was so into Chase off, like, immediately as soon as they're in the house. Like, she was doing that thing that women sometimes do, to speak in very broad general terms that's probably going to get me in trouble, where she was laughing at things he was saying that were not jokes. He was
that we got to remember. Like, I'm gonna assume that Nani wasn't drinking Kool-Aid in her cup, right?
No,
we know that when she comes in, she's coming in hot, and as she mentioned, and I watched a bit of the after show where she explained that she just got out of a really serious relationship. And she was like, she basically just went through a divorce, right? For lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Those are her words. But that meant you're in that situation now. And say whatever you want about The Bachelor, but ladies love dudes from The Bachelor. And so dude happens to be there. It's kind of the perfect situation. She's flirting with them. But then also she has that connection with Johnny Bananas, right? That familiar feeling with Johnny Bananas. And they're always going to flirt back and forth and push each other's buttons. And so it was just super funny to see it happen. And I was laughing because, first off, they're flirting. And you know Johnny Bananas is going to use that to his advantage and stir the pot with it down the line, right?
Yeah.
But then Chase gets kind of mad. Or no, what was the line that Leroy had? Leroy had a line for Johnny Bananas where he kind of said, oh, Johnny Bananas' favorite line to girls is like, either we fuck or I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And that's like his line. And I'm just like, that sounds so douchey, but at the same time, exactly something that Johnny Bananas would say. Right? But you see him and Nani flirting, and then your man's Chase is catching feelings already, as can only be perfectly summed up by CT, who says, come on, man, what you think? She wants a rose? You picked the wrong one, man. Get the fuck out of here. As only CT can deliver it. I thought that was incredible.
It was amazing. And, I mean, CT's totally right. Like, it had been like an hour flirtation, maybe, and they'd kissed.
She said that whole thing happened within the span of 24 hours. The first 24 hours, she said that whole thing happened.
That was bonkers. We had Cam and Leroy having a little strained discussion. So they'd always sort of covered up the fact that they were dating.
Yes.
Like they'd always danced around it, but there was definitely like it was obvious to everyone, I think. And they apparently had a big fight and then just stopped speaking to each other.
Yeah.
And it seems like the score is that she wants to move on, but he still has feelings. And I gotta say, I really want those two to work it out. Like, I really like Cam and Leroy together. Like, a lot. Like, I think they are both attractive people. They've got, like, similar personalities. They're both super funny. Like, I ship them, as the kids say. I want those two crazy kids to work it out, Sheldon.
See, I go the other way. Now, if this was real life, cool. More power to them. But, hey, they're young. They're on an MTV show. I feel like they're, them to be coupled up in the challenge house is less entertaining. I need them to be, mixing and mingling and having fun with everyone else in the house, not like cuddled up, sleeping in when they're in the house and shit. No. I'm here for the party. I want to see Roy Lee and I want to see Killa Cam as separate entities doing their thing.
Speaking of Cam, as she and Leroy sort of go their separate ways for the evening, Theo catches an eyeful of her and makes it clear that he thinks she's the most attractive woman in the house. And do you know who... Go ahead. Go on. I was going to say, do you know who Theo does not like?
Leroy?
He does not like Ashley, who he says is 8 Miles' mom.
Yeah, that was funny. I thought that scene was very funny because... And the thing, too, was... I can see it both ways, right? So he says that, the way you speak kind of reminds me of Eminem's mom in 8 Mile. And I can see what he's saying and that he didn't mean it in a malicious way or as malicious as Ashley took it. But I can also see how Ashley would take that as a diss. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he meant it in a malicious way. I think, because the thing that we forget and the thing that obviously Ashley isn't thinking of is the way that everyone just mocks their British accents, right? He's doing the same thing, but we just never think of it from that side, right? We're not thinking of it as Ashley's accent sounds so weird, right? So when he says Eminem's mom in 8 Mile, she's just taking it as, you're trying to say I sound like this trailer park trash mom. Whereas to him, it's just like an American accent.
Yeah.
No? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think you're totally right. And, if you're in Britain, you can judge, a lot about a person based off of their accents. And just, in Canada, we basically only have 4 accents in Canada. But, to you and I, we can tell if someone's a rural Canadian, like Letterkenny, or, to other Canadians, we have very strong Toronto accents, and then there's obviously a French Canadian accent, and hey,
even in just Toronto alone, there's the normal Toronto, right? There's a normal Toronto accent, but then you might have the Scarborough Mans that might be popularized by Drake for our American listeners. If you're thinking what I'm saying about the Scarborough Mans or the Brampton Mans type accent, just think of anytime you hear Drake throw on a little twang or a little bit of extra something onto his accent. That's what we're talking about, the different Torontos. But no, totally. So to me, I could see it on both sides, but Ashley entertains me so much. Ashley is just hilarious. But the way that, because I didn't even think of this, and who would even think of this on the very first night, but to get in an argument with someone and then say, what? You think you're cool? And just basically throw it in his face and say, you know what? I'm going to pick you as my partner and then make sure that you lose and that we go home because bitch, I'm rich. I thought that was incredible. Who thinks of that? What, like, that's a level of petty and like maniacal plan that like very few people would actually think of, right? The fact that you just made fun of me. I'm now going to pick you as my partner and then make us lose on purpose so that you go home, but I don't care because I just won the last season and I'm rich.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yes.
Top level petty, and I'm here for it.
Top level petty. And like, I think I'm always amazed about like how some newbies on the challenge don't do their research coming in. Because in my mind, Ashley is probably the last person on the show I'd want to fuck with. Like her or Johnny Bananas.
Yeah.
Just because, and like if he was on this season, I wouldn't want to cross Shane. Just because Shane and Ashley would be like so irrational and would never give up. Like they'd be so dogged.
Yeah.
And like if you piss them off and trying to fuck with you, it would be exhausting. And Johnny Bananas is so like focused in how he gets rid of people.
Well, I love
so it's
how
like
Hunter
the same
came
effect.
in. I love how Hunter came in and he was just like calm and cool. He's like, listen, man, just say you're sorry and walk away. You can't win. You're not going to win with her, man. So just say you're sorry and walk away because you just continuing this is just going to make it worse. And it's like, you just felt so bad for Hunter because you got memories of how last season ended. It was just like, it's so good. It was so good.
Well, and it's the first time, like, it's the first time that they would have, I'm not sure, I guess the reunion was filmed before this. But, like, it's not public knowledge that she'd won to that point, right? Like, he was...
What do you mean?
When he was explaining, like, there's that little scene, I forget who he was speaking with, but he was speaking to one of the newbies.
Yeah.
And the newbie said, I was watching your season, but they haven't aired the finale yet. And so he had to explain to her what happened at the end. Because, like, it's not public knowledge.
I got you.
So they would have filmed the reunion and then left. And, like, a little bit of behind the scenes. I happen to know as a fact that the people who are on this season of the challenge, War of the Worlds, who are on the last season of the challenge, they got preview copies of the final, like, 6 episodes or whatever before they left.
Okay.
Because they weren't even done editing the last season before they all shipped off to Tunisia. So, like, people who are back from last season, like Kara, Kyle, Polly, Hunter, Ashley, they are, at this point in time, know more about what happened than anyone else because they have those, like, 6 episodes that hadn't been aired, hadn't been shown by cast members. Because, again, behind the scenes, the cast members get to see the episodes of their show, like, a week before it airs.
Yeah.
And, like, it's no coincidence. If you follow any of these people on Twitter, the reason why they have GIFs at the ready is part of their job is that they're supposed to be active on social media when the show is airing. Like, it's part of the system.
Yeah,
so, like,
for sure.
they're not making these animated GIFs themselves.
Well, the other
right?
thing
like,
that's super...
MTV has a department.
The other thing that's super important about this, too, was because... Or that turned out to be super important, was just the fact that, you know, Gus, was it, that said, while they... Because the twist comes out that it's not the vets that get to pick the teams, it's actually the rookies that get to pick the teams. And Gus makes a point at the end. He's like, clearly none of these people did their research about who any of these vets are. And I found that super interesting and correct. And it's funny you bring up the point about getting to see the screeners or whatever, about what ends up happening, because that's a major, major plot point and something that I would want to know going forward if I want to pick who my partner is, but more importantly, who I don't want to be partnered with, right? So let's go through, I just want to run through the teams, and then I want you to tell me who's your team to look for and who's the team that you're like, wow, they're trash, okay? Is that cool?
Okay.
So, as mentioned, right, find out that the twist is that It's not the champs. I was going to call them champs versus pros. It's funny. But it's not the vets that get to pick. It's the rookies. Great solid twist. I'm here for that. Your boy Alan is eliminated because he has a broken arm. So your boy Josh is back, right? Mm-hmm. Which was an interesting twist, but we'll get to that. Which I also saw coming because we saw the trailer already, and we know Josh is in the house. So that wasn't a surprise, right?
Well, and like, it's only been 24 hours. Like, he wouldn't have fucking gone anywhere. They always keep them around for like an extra week.
Yeah.
It was obvious what was going to happen.
Exactly. So Natalie, rookie Natalie D, is that what they're going with? She picks Polly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. Okay. Diesel takes the Dieseled Ashley, right? He takes Killa Cam. Morgan picks Bananas, which we kind of skipped over that part, but I feel like this is going to be an interesting part of the season because I don't know if you've seen what's happened on social media, but Morgan, well, first off, Morgan was going at Nani. No, sorry, she liked Nani. She's going at Wes on the after show. But Morgan's been going at a bunch of the vets, and namely Jemmy, pretty hard on social media. Like, they're going back and forth right now on Twitter. Pretty interesting. While John's talking, I'll look that up and read it at the end of the pod. But
okay,
Morgan beefing, it's interesting, and it's because she selected Bananas as her partner. Interesting take, right? Bear takes Davon super early. Is that a shocker? I'll ask you later. Georgia takes Hunter, Theo, and Ashley. No, not Ashley. We thought he was going to take Ashley, right? Because it sounded like he was going to try to make a little play off of their little argument, but instead he takes Kara. Julia takes CT. High value pick, I'll say that. Turbo takes Nani. And Turbo says, in my country, women is very important. You can die for sister. You can die for mother. So I want to take care and win for Nani. I'm like, what? What is this guy talking about? This guy is scary as fuck. D takes Wes. And somehow she thinks that Wes doesn't have enemies, which sounds funny. JP takes Natalie. Maddie takes Kyle. That Kyle and Maddie team is going to be crazy. Chase picks Ashley, to which Davon says, she robbed her partner, stupid. Which is true. How do you pick Ashley? Right? That doesn't make any sense.
It wasn't public knowledge, right?
Yeah, but hold on. So how does Davon know?
Because Davon was at the reunion, but like the reunion hasn't aired.
Well, all these people should be talking and doing because remember at the very end, Gus, who has a choice between taking Jenna and Amanda, he knows right away. He's like, people didn't do their research. You obviously take Jenna. How's Jenna one of the last people to be picked? And I wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
I agree too, but in terms of like recent history, like I forget who it was who was talking to Hunter. Maybe it was Georgia.
No, it was
since
Georgia.
They ended up partnered.
It was Georgia.
But like Georgia straight up said like it hasn't aired. So like what happened? And like
here's the thing. I don't even need that end of the how it ended with Ashley to know that Ashley's a crazy partner to have.
Yeah.
If you just watched a bit of that season, you know that her and Hunter were not, and a lot of it is on Hunter as well, don't get me wrong. But Ashley is not one of the people that I would pick at the forefront of my team. That's all I'm saying. I would 10 times rather have Jenna as a partner. I would probably even rather have Amanda as a partner. That's me.
Yeah, I like, don't get me wrong. I love Ashley. I want to get her on You Killed It so that we can interview her because I think she's hilarious. I think she's smart. I think she's a great competitor. But it would be very difficult to be her partner.
Hell yeah.
Like, it would be because she gets into fights all the time and can be very erratic in her behavior. It's like I was saying before. I like Shane, but I wouldn't want to be Shane's partner. It'd be exhausting. Right? Like, give me a Jenna who's very nice and chill. Give me a Davon or a Cam who's like smart and like reasonable. You know what I mean?
No, 1,000%. 1,000%.
So, sorry, continue with the list.
Rounding out the team, Shailene and Leroy. Zahida takes Zach. Gus, as mentioned, had to choose between Jenna and Amanda. He picked Jenna, which is the right choice. And then Amanda gets partnered with, as mentioned, Josh. I'm going to ask you, which one of those teams, who are the favorite team? And then I'm going to ask you just who stands out to you the most. It could be negative, it could be positive, but just who else stands out to you?
In my mind, the best team is Bear and Davon.
Wow. Okay.
Because this is what Davon wanted, and she got it. She wanted Bear is the key because he is both British and Big Brother, and obviously she's Big Brother, and so they're in a position to be sort of like the focal point of a wide spread UK Big Brother alliance, which puts them in a great position to start picking off other teams, right?
For sure.
So I think they'll be I don't think they're going to dominate competitions, but they're not ever going to be at the bottom, right? And I don't know a lot about Bear's personality, but Davon will be smart enough to keep a low profile. And I think one of the key dynamics in this house, and we always talk about this, is the first 4 to 5 eliminations. It's just about keeping a target off your back, right?
Exactly. Don't lose, and then keep quiet in the house.
And Davon and Bear at this point don't have a target on their back, right?
Yeah.
But there are people who do. Amanda and Zach have targets on each other's backs. Wes and Johnny have targets, and Johnny always has a target on his back. Hunter and Ashley, Polly, Kyle, and Kara are obviously going to get into drama. Even before seeing the trailer, you know that they're going to get into drama. So to me, that's good for Davon and Bear, because they're competitive. They are in a good sort of nexus of alliances, but they also have that low profile, which will see them through.
Yeah.
Who stuck out for you?
So here's my thing. I think Julia and CT will be a really good team. I think Turbo and Nani will be a really good team.
Yep.
And here's the thing, right? I really, really think that Gus and Jenna will be a good team because they'll stay out of trouble for the most part, I feel like. They'll stay out of trouble. Jenna's pretty low-key. Zach's there, so it's not like she would even be... The only real problem is when she breaks up with Zach, she could maybe take that one of two ways. But I feel like what's going to happen in this house, there's going to be a lot of relationship drama.
Yep.
And so if you avoid that side of it, because there's a lot of that could happen, you're good in that instance. But the team that stands out to me the most is Johnny Bananas and Morgan. Because Johnny Bananas is doing the thing again where he's finding the young, hot rookie, or maybe she found him, but she's gaming him just as much as he's gaming her in this situation, right? And again, she's out here on Twitter talking hella greasy, right? And I just think that tells me that a lot might have happened within the house, and she won Big Brother. And I think anytime you win a show, you come in with a target on your back, right? So Josh has the same target, except for the fact that Josh is a terrible player. For those who don't know, to me, Josh and Amanda is going to be the funniest team to watch, right? Because there's going to be mad blow-ups. I don't think they're going to work well together. They're both going to freak out and yell at each other, but also just get drunk and be problems within the house. Josh won Big Brother because he kept going up as the pawn. He was such a bad player that they kept putting him up knowing that they weren't going to vote him out because they would beat him in the final. Problem is, the guy who flipped the whole house, right? Mm-hmm. His name was Paul. He should have won because he gamed the entire house, tricked everybody, right? He ends up taking Josh with him to the final. He should win, but everyone was so petty and bitter that they voted for Josh to win, even though there is no chance that Josh deserved it. So that's how Josh won. I don't know if people know that within the house, the challenge house, right? They're just looking at it as, oh, Josh might be a really good competitor because he won. And it's yeah, he won, but he's a terrible competitor. And he's just going to be a shit disturber. And I can see it happening right now where Johnny Bananas is just stirring the pot and getting him going, and Josh is going to be crying and freaking out. So I think my team that I think can win on the low, like if I was buying stocks, Jenna and Gus. And the team that will bring the most drama definitely is going to be Amanda and Josh.
Okay, all right. Let me ask you, what was your line of the episode?
We touched on it earlier, but my line of the episode comes from Mama Day, and we touched on it earlier, but she says, quote, "I don't even like doing the Stairmaster at the gym, so to climb these sand dunes is a problem. But I'm going to do it, because I'm a thug, and I can't let these people know I'm scared." Yes, I'm here for all of that.
Here's my line of the episode. My line of the episode was that Johnny Bananas did not do a toast.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even notice that.
That's my line of the episode, because that shit was played out. And like I said, I am here for a little less Johnny Bananas in our lives. I'm a little worn out by him. I'm a little worn out by Kara. So skipping that, I'm here for it. I am pleased to not have to go through that played out fucking thing that he does. It's a little crass and he thinks he's really funny, and it's just, no thank you. I am ready to move on. Most importantly, Sheldon, who killed it for you this week?
So this is kind of weird because I was gonna say that Davon killed it because she actually won the challenge and also just gave great confessionals and is great. But what I'm really gonna say in terms of who killed it doesn't actually come from the show. I mentioned the Twitter beef going on right now between Morgan and Jemmy. I don't know how it started. Oh, sorry, I do know how. I just put this together how it started. I'm such an idiot. I was wondering how this first tweet, what Jemmy was referring to, but then I remembered I watched the after show. And so I'm going to say that Morgan killed it because she is making a very interesting first impression in terms of, entering the house, getting with Johnny Bananas, and now just going at mad people. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it starts off with Jemmy commenting on, because Morgan, as I mentioned, was on the after show, right? And the after show was hosted by our girl, Justina Valentine, which I'm always here for Justina. She hosted it, and it was with Nani, Wes, and Polly. But Morgan calls in on a video chat, and she's just like going in on a bunch of people in the house, like how much she doesn't like them. So Jemmy tweets, "Morgan's Wi-Fi is dusty. Upgrade your service, sis." And she used the term dusty because Morgan was saying that, she can't wait for the season to air because there's too many old and dusty people. We got to get these old and dusty people out of here, like Wes. And I was just like, holy shit, where's this coming from, right? Like, Homegirl was going at it. So anyways, this starts with Jemmy tweeting, Morgan's Wi-Fi is dusty. Upgrade your service, sis. #challenge33. Morgan responds and says, "I'll look into that. Thank you. I love fan feedback. Make sure you tune in again next Wednesday at 9/8 Central." Jemmy, of course, responds and says, "I'll be tuning in all season, boo, but I'll only be seeing you for how many more episodes? ? If you were a fan of the show, you'd probably have known not to pick somebody that's cursed, you dummy." Obviously, one of the topics we talk about all the time, the Johnny Bananas curse, right? Which you and I still firmly believe in, right? We still think is a thing?
I do. 100%.
So Morgan responds and says, "Don't make me bring a bottle of ketchup for the Oh, wait, you won't be there. Never mind." So the back and forth is already there. And again, I'm here for all of this. So we always mention people that you should be following on Twitter because they're live tweeting during the show. Obviously, you follow the challenge account, but Morgan is definitely someone to follow. Jemmy, although she's not on this season, definitely someone to follow as well, as her commentary has been great through the first episode as well. So yeah, I'm going to say that Morgan killed it because that's how you make a first impression on this show, when you got to let people know who you are early.
I agree. That's a good choice.
The thing is, too, I'm talking about from the drama perspective. Is this going to help her win the game? Right? It's already done and over with. But I'm just saying in terms of like building your challenge profile, getting invited back to the challenge. Yeah, she's doing her thing.
You got to take it episode by episode, right? And this episode and this week, I hear what you're saying. You touched on Davon, Mama Day, and she's my pick. She's my pick because, first of all, she won the competition. Second of all, she had said that she wanted to be partnered with Bear, and that's what, she manifested that shit. She made it happen. And, like I said, when you were asking me about the teams, I think she's in a really strong position to go deep for just a host of reasons, which I've already gone over. But I really think that she killed it. I think it's a strong start. It's the right start that you want. I'm glad that she's back. And I think it's going to help that now she has a season under her belt. She's not partnered with Jose, who I really came around on last season. But he also was a bit of a drama magnet, kind of put a target on their back. Like, if you think about Jose and Davon last season, yeah, they went up all the time, like they were always nominated. But they would have had a smaller target on their back, or she would have had a smaller target on her back if it wasn't for him. Like, she wasn't typically the source of the drama. I know she got into it with Shane and a couple other people, but Jose was normally the, originator of the drama. We'll see what she has with Bear. I could see him causing her some issues, but, maybe she can get him under wraps. But, yeah, this was a great start to the season. Like you said, first episode's always the best episode. It gets me hyped. They showed the trailer again at the end of the episode, and it gave me chills watching it on my big screen. So I'm excited, and I'm glad to be back talking with you. On that note, though, we're not going to be talking next week.
Well, we will. We'll just tape the episode a little later on.
Yeah, we're going to tape episode 2 of this a little bit later on. Again, my life is so hard. I'm going to Mexico for a week, and I don't think I'm going to be able to watch the challenge, let alone record from Mexico. In the past, we've recorded from France and we've recorded from the United States, but Mexico is a little too difficult. So you're gonna have a bit of a break from hearing our voices, but next Monday we'll put out 2 Mondays from now, not the 11th, but the 18th. We're gonna put out episode 2 when we get caught up, and then we'll be back to our regular schedule of recording on Thursday mornings. And it's good to be back. Where can the people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Shell Alexander and on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. A lot of basketball talk, a lot of Raptors talk, but obviously now that the challenge is back, there will definitely be a lot of challenge talk as well. I want to really try to make an effort to live tweet during the show as well. That will be dependent upon the Raptors schedule, first off. But last night I just wasn't able to do it because my service provider was down. And yeah. So, ended up watching this morning, which was cool. Made sure to watch the trailer a bunch, as you mentioned. And I'm hype. I'm here. So, yeah. Raptors, NBA basketball, and the challenge will be dominating my social media feed for the next foreseeable future.
You should also tell people about your other podcast.
Well, for our Canadian friends, or just Raptor fans or Kawhi Leonard fans, we do a Raptors post-game show, which airs live on Twitter after each and every Raptors game, which also then becomes a podcast wherever you find your podcast. It's called Wrap It Up. And we also do an NBA-wide podcast called the Ball on Blast podcast, which you can find on the same locale, on iTunes, on Google Play, SoundCloud, under Ball on Blast, or subscribe on the YouTube page, where you can also find this podcast. So, yeah, it's all there. It's all there. Lots of stuff. Whole grain goodness.
Whole grain goodness. I like that. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at jchidleyhill. Usual, back on my bullshit at work, covering Raptors, covering Leafs. I'm also doing a weekly golf feature now. Always are typically focusing on Canadian golfers. So if you follow me on Twitter, brace for that. And until February 18th, this was You Killed It.
You killed it.
Oh, I missed that, Sheldon.